our lovely warm-up problem that you should be doing in the back of your spiral notebook. And I'm going to have Madison come on up. You pick whichever one you want to answer. Just put it right beside that one. There it is. Yep. Whichever one you want to answer, you get to choose.
Wait, who's not that?
Now you're close. What is she missing? Curly brackets, right? So you got to put the curly brackets around there. Okay, because that's correct syntax. Now you get to hand that off to whoever you want. Come on up. You pick whichever one you'd like to do. You've got 2 and 3 left. Okay, read the question one more time.
I think you said or in between relation and function.
Yeah. That happens. That's why I asked. I said just read it one more time. That's a good one. Okay, go ahead and hand that off. And he's right with no, because 0 goes to 2 different numbers, 2 goes to 2 different numbers, 4 goes to 2 different numbers, and finally 6 does also. You do not get a choice, sorry. You have to find the range.
So I just have to write all these numbers, right?
But they have to be what? Good. You missed 2 and 3 in there. We'll throw those in real quick. That's okay, you did well. 2, 3, 4. There we go, perfect. Okay, any questions on domain, range, or function? Wonderful. We're actually going to switch seats now. Okay, and then we're going to get our test back. So I'm actually going to hit pause on here. So today we're going to work on finding slopes of lines and classifying lines. So before we can do that, we need to talk about that slope formula. Raise your hand if you remember the slope formula. Caleb. Now that's my slope-intercept form for a line. Now it does have slope in it, and that's actually, Caleb, something we're going to talk about tomorrow, so keep that in mind. Fantastic, that's it exactly. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's how I find my slope. Now, I always get asked, what do these little 2's mean and these little 1's mean? Well, the 1's mean that those 2 letters come from the first point. And the 2's mean those letters come from the second point. I recommend always labeling your points. I know it sounds silly, but you make less errors that way. So, here's our first question, where we're just finding slope. We're going to find it between -2, -4, and 3, -1. So the very first thing I just recommended we do is to do what with these points? Number them, label them, right? So this is my first point. I'll label it x1, y1, x2, y2. You make less errors if you actually label it. So now I'm going to fill in my slope formula. And it says y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So all I did was I plugged those numbers into the correct spot. What do I do with a minus and negative? Plus a positive. So I'll change those to help me out. And I get 3 over 5. My slope is 3 over 5. What's that actually mean? Anybody know what that even means? Other than it's a pretty number? Nathan? Close. Push it around. There you go. This is your rise over your run. So you always go up or down first, and then you always go to the right. Now, right now we're not graphing, but tomorrow we will be. So it's important to know it's rise over run. So, got a little problem that's actually going to help us practice that. We need to figure out which line is steeper. So what do I need to figure out first before I say it's this one or this one? What do you think I need to find first? Good. Go ahead and find the slope of line 1 and the slope of line 2. So let's go ahead and check these. The first thing I'm going to do is label. I'm going to label this one, x1, y1, x2, y2. I have found a lot of students try to do these in their head. You're really good at subtracting things and just putting one number over another. But some students then mix up their x's and y's and make a silly error. So I went ahead and I already did this. I filled them in and I got 1.5 and 1. There is a reason I changed this to 1.5 here. Because I know I'm not graphing, right? And I'm trying to figure out which line is steeper. So how do I figure out which line is steeper for this one? How do you know which one's steeper? Okay. That's a good way to think of it. Anybody think of it a different way? Whichever slope is bigger. Notice 1.5 is bigger than 1. So in this case, which line is steeper? Line 1. That's the reason I changed it to a decimal here, just so you could actually see this one is bigger than this one. If I was graphing it, I would leave it just like that, 6 over 4, or I would have changed it to 3 over 2. Now I have a question. I'm going to change my answer just slightly. What if this had been a negative sign? Negative 3 halves, and the other one was 1. Which one's steeper? Why? Say it one more time. That's true. That's true, but that doesn't help us. That doesn't actually always determine our steepness. Okay. When you're talking about steepness, it's still the same slope, it's just tilted the other way, right? So you forget about the negative sign when you're talking about steepness. So line 1 would still be steeper, which is actually what you said, but then your reasoning had switched that. That's why I was like, hey, she's got the right line, but then her reasoning switched that off. Okay, so line 1 would still be steeper, even though it was negative, if that's the case. Okay? All right. So now that we've talked about that, let's talk about 4 keywords here. Rises, falls, horizontal, vertical. Go ahead and write those down. And we're going to talk about, well, what kind of slope do these have? So rises, falls, horizontal, and vertical, and then over there on the side is a lovely word we'll say here in a minute. So don't worry about writing it down right now. That boy box, don't worry about it right now. Just these 4 keywords. I'm going to ask Rain. Rain, if my line is rising, what kind of a slope would that be? Yeah, that's it. Perfect. Positive. Positive. Rain, want to pick? Megan, what kind of line would fall? Negative is correct. I couldn't find you. Negative is correct. Now we get into the horizontal and vertical. And this is the part most students have trouble with. Rising and falling, you guys are fine. You know which one's which. But horizontal. Horizontal is like this floor, right? Okay? Let's pretend I'm skiing across this floor. What slope does it have? What? 0 is right. It is 0. Let me try writing the letter Z again. There we go. All right. I can do that, right? Slope of 0, I can probably ski across, right? Notice I'm saying me, the teacher. Okay. Vertical. That's kind of like this pole, right? Or this wall. Me, the teacher. Not talking about you, because some of you probably actually could do this. But I'm talking about me. Can I climb this wall? Don't look at me like I'm crazy. I know I am. Can I climb it? No, I can't. So what kind of a slope is that? Undefined. It's not possible. It is undefined. Notice I always keep saying me, the teacher. Is anybody actually able to climb a wall in here? I've had that in the past. That's why I say me, the teacher. Okay? Because I personally know I cannot climb this wall. I mean, I try every year during this lesson. It doesn't happen. Especially in dress shoes. So, I always have people have trouble remembering, okay, horizontal, vertical, which one goes with which slope goes with which. So I came up with a thing. Actually, I didn't come up with it. My cooperating teacher, when I was in student teaching, gave me this lovely saying. And I thought it was ridiculous at first. But it's kind of fun to say. And it actually does help out. It's hoi vux. Go ahead and say it. Hoi vux! Thank you, Mason. All right, one more time, everybody together. We're going to be loud here. Wake up Mr. Ryan a little bit. Hoi vux! Hoi vux! There we go. It's kind of fun. There are times if I walk up behind you and go hoi vux right at you, you probably have messed something up, or I want you to be thinking about hoi vux if you haven't started it yet. But that's a little key reminder. Well, this is meant to help us with horizontal and vertical lines. So H stands for horizontal. What kind of a slope does horizontal lines have? Yeah. Hey, look, there's a 0 right there for us. Right in hoi. You see the 0? How nice is that? Now, the next part, the y, will be coming into play tomorrow. When you have y equals a number, some number, whatever number it is, then it's going to be a horizontal line. And you're going to see that tomorrow when we're graphing them. And I'll go around and I'll say hoi vux to you so you remember that. Okay. V stands for vertical. It's a vertical line. And the slope of a vertical line is undefined. Hey, look, there's the U. Undefined. Okay. And tomorrow we'll be graphing these types of lines, and you'll know that it's a vertical line when it says x equals, and then there's a number of some sort. Notice I'm saying y equals a number, x equals a number, not y equals mx plus b, like Caleb had said earlier. Because those have slope, and they could be rising or falling. Okay. So that's a little key thing to help us out to remember horizontal and vertical. So now let's talk about parallel and perpendicular. So I made a chart here. And I have slope, parallel, perpendicular, neither. Go ahead and take a second and write the chart down. All right, so we're going to talk about parallel, perpendicular, and either. But before I can actually talk about it, we have to start with the slope. So I'm going to pick on Amanda. Amanda, what's your favorite number? 7. Okay, that works for me. So 7 is the slope I'm going to write right there. Okay. So I've got a slope. What do you know about parallel lines? Somebody raise your hand. Tell me, what do you know about parallel lines? Raven. cuts. Anything else you know about their line? That's right, they have the same slope. So, Amanda, what is your parallel slope to the one you gave me? 7 is correct. So parallel has the same slope. Raise your hand if you could tell me about perpendicular. Oh, Brianna's like, got it. Go ahead. Ooh, she said keywords. You know what? I'm going to actually write those keywords down. Opposite. Reciprocal. I think I spelled that right. Nope. I-C-A-L? I think that's better. Okay. Keywords right there. Key vocab words. By the way, I only check spelling a few times a year. Okay? And the only time I actually count spelling is if I would say, is this line parallel, perpendicular, or neither? And those words are right there, right? I expect you to spell them correctly. If I said what kind of slopes they have, and if you mess up the spelling there, those words aren't on my paper, so you can mess those up. Sound good? All right. So raise your hand if you can tell me the perpendicular slope. Close. Close. There you go. Good, Carter. -1/7. You got to switch the sign also. My favorite category is neither. And I'm going to choose 1/7 for neither. Why is it neither of those? Good. It's not perpendicular, it's not parallel. By the way, it didn't have to be 1/7. Josh, favorite number? Any number? 28. If it had been 28, that would also be neither, right? Okay, so neither is anything that doesn't make it parallel or perpendicular. Okay, I'm going to give you the next number, -5. See if you can find the parallel, the perpendicular. Be creative with the neither. Be creative with the neither. All right. Tiffany, what's the parallel? Perfect. That is right. Madison, what's the perpendicular? Perfect. All right, raise your hand if you thought you were creative. You want to give me your number. Allie. 22/7, that'll work. -22/7, that would work. Okay, you can write anything there except -5, 1/5. Hey, how nice is that, right? You can write any number there. Neither means it's not one of this or this. I could have wrote 9,872,463.96. That'd be fine. That's not -5, it's not 1/5, right? Okay, I've got one more for you. -1/2. You just need to do parallel and perpendicular. And then we're done. After I know for sure we've got this part. Other people are like, okay, we're done. She's already getting paper out. Look at it. So I'll pick on Sierra then. Just tell me parallel. Good. Okay. And Tyler, can you tell me perpendicular? 2/1 or 2. Either one's fine. Okay. Any questions? So what if I give you 2 points and another 2 points, and I ask you, are these lines parallel, perpendicular, or neither? What would you have to find first in order to do it? Slope is correct. That make sense? All right, essential work for tonight. All 6 problems. Bum, bum, bum.